Hi, I'm Brooke Moen of Brooke Moen Acupuncture and Personalized Medicine. And what exactly do I mean by personalized medicine? It is about healing. And what exactly does healing mean? Healing is essentially living in harmony, not pushing against. And that is, though a very global concept, it's also very personal. And how do we achieve this type of harmony or healing or health? Um, Chinese medicine is a beautiful foundational 5,000-year-old system that teaches us about this. And in short, it's what I studied and what I practice. And the reason that it is so conducive to the personal nature of medicine is that it is looking at two key things about how an individual heals, which is something we call differential diagnosis and the five element system. And essentially, what all that means is just that when someone comes to us for help, though their problems are very universal and very repeatable in their patterns, there's also a very specific and individual expression of that that each of us is bringing. And so, as a practitioner of personalized medicine, we really need to be able to attend to and hear and treat the very personal nature of how an individual's imbalance is expressing. And healing, health, and medicine is also relational. And what I mean by this is that it is of relationship, both our relationship to what's around us, the people and the environment around us, but also our relationship to our own body. It's an embodied experience, and that can sound really obvious. Of course, all of this takes place in the body. But as Westerners, we are often extremely disconnected from this. And I'm seeing it now more than ever. We are trying so hard to go up into our minds to figure out how to fix everything that's wrong. And I thought a lot about this recently when I heard Bessel van der Kolk interviewed on the podcast On Being by Krista Tippett. Bessel van der Kolk is a MD, a psychiatrist who has done many decades of research and practice with PTSD, with trauma. And he was talking about how essentially we can't heal through the mind, we have to heal through the body. So we can understand and we can figure things out, and that's absolutely a vital discernment to find the healing and help we need. But at the end of the day, trauma and disease and disharmony resides in the body. And so the only way out of it is to address the embodied experience. And so why am I talking about all of this today? Why does this matter? Obviously, it's what I do and it's what I love to do, but what I want to briefly cover today is where we find ourselves in the global perspective of what it is to heal, to be healthy, to find some harmony. Because personally and globally, we are absolutely in a moment of crisis. We find ourselves at the end of many centuries, or a place in the midst of many centuries of too much fire and not enough water. That's how we would say it in Chinese medicine and cosmology. And that is a metaphorical way of describing the phenomena of imperialism, essentially. The climate crisis, the crisis of too many centuries of oppression to too many people. This is fire. This is forward motion, go, go, go. Another way to think about fire is summertime or adolescence. It's doing, doing, doing with no wisdom behind it, with no thought to how it actually serves the whole, which is water. And so I want to talk a little bit about how we find ourselves in this place of the habit of excess fire and not enough water, and what do we do about this? How do we care for it? The global crisis, how do we address that personally? And in a few minutes, I obviously am not going to have all the answers, but the the very wise view of Chinese medicine and cosmology of many thousands of years might be able to lend us a hand in this respect. And so I want to talk about globally, seasonally, and in the calendar, kind of where we find ourselves and what to do about it. And so this crisis of excess fire, I just got done teaching my first college class, and I was so heartful and ecstatic that these kids just understood these concepts immediately. And that's because we are living this directly. You know, that might be new terminology to many of us, excess fire, deficient water, but we have the direct experience of this. And the easiest way to think about it is, you know, every time you turn on the radio and you feel this doom or this anxiety, and then you want to do something about it, that's fire. And so how do we bring water to that situation? Well, we're in a moment right now, both cosmologically, the metal ox year, and seasonally, the water season or winter, where it's the perfect time to really sit with this. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's the dark and real side of things, and we can't escape it forever, as we're finding. So if you want to know more about how and why this is called the metal ox year, I gave a whole talk about it at the beginning of this year, and it's on Vimeo, and you can find it on my website. But essentially, here we are in the last months of the ox, which is about slowly plodding along, being retrospective, looking back and saying, okay, where do we find ourselves? How did we get here? And how do we want to think about maybe doing things a little bit differently moving forward? Next year is the tiger, and I will give a talk about the new year sometime around February, March, and what that means. But it'll be a huge transition moving forward very quickly. And so even for those of us who are sort of impatient right now and feeling stagnation and why isn't anything moving, this is the time to germinate. This is gestation period. So both the ox year and now here we are in water season, winter. The opportunity is this germination. So in the spring or wood element or birth, the shoots come up and something comes to manifestation, whether that's a creative project of your own, whether that's the change we are so needing globally and societally. But before that, we have to know what we're planting. And so right now is the time of gestation or germination. We're going deep into the darkness and attending. And in a place like Vermont, we can really feel this because it's dark by 3:30 or 4. And so we're just naturally less inclined to run around. In places like California, where I used to live, that's a little bit harder to feel, and especially when your society is so fiery and saying you have to do and produce and go all of the time. You don't. Now, we have all gotten a feeling of this more than ever because of the pandemic. The pandemic really just tossed water onto our fire. And so over the last year or two, that has been a hard thing for many of us to feel, is all of a sudden not going and doing. Other people have gotten great relief from that, and that has a lot to do with our own constitution, our own imbalances, our own desires and needs. However, what can we glean from this extreme difficulty and limitation that most of us privileged Westerners have never experienced before? What's the opportunity here? And this winter is a perfect time to really sit with this. So first of all, we can notice our own discomfort, right? I read something recently by Ethan Nichtern, who is a leader in the Buddhist community, who said, privileged folks, you know, hear me out for a minute. If you are uncomfortable, maybe don't try to fix that or move away from that. The discomfort is where the consciousness is available. The discomfort is where our awakening is possible. And so I don't think most of us realize how comfortable we've been for so long, and how averse we are to discomfort. And so maybe sitting with our discomfort and being curious about it, and knowing that, like everything, it comes and it goes, and it's worthy of reflection when it's here. Also, can life be as much about productivity? Can it also be about this germination, about resting, about putting back into your storage everything you're spending. And I mean this like energetically, and I mean this directly about how much we run around, and maybe we can have a little more pause in that. And then the last thing is we can forgive ourselves. We can forgive ourselves, we can forgive our culture, we can forgive the people around us. This is especially important to think about as we go into the holidays. We're all addicted to fire and deficient in water because we are Westerners. And so when we're impatient about how we can't change that overnight, or how the people around us are on that addictive wheel, can we be forgiving and just stay in the uncertainty of not knowing exactly what to do about it, and trusting that we'll figure it out along the way. And on that note, I want to leave you with a poem. It's a short one by Mary Oliver that points exactly to this concept of what's available here in the winter and the water season. And she says, "Therefore, dark past, I'm about to do it. I'm about to forgive you for everything." So on that note, may you have easy, calm holidays. May you find some peace in the chaos, and may you find some water for your fire. Take good care. Please contact me, Brooke Moen at gmail.com, BrookeMoenAcupuncture.com, and I'm holding you in my heart during the season of darkness. Take care.